Okay, so I'm gonna just keep on going here, um, because I'm in the zone, right? So this is the third week of June, and it's emotional agility under stress. So welcome, right? Like this is how to stay available to choice when life gets loud, as it always does, right? So I want you to join me here, right? Because if your tools disappear the second your life gets loud, right? The issue is probably not your discipline. It's the design, right? And I think a whole lot of people need to hear that because they keep making this way too personal. They say things like, I know better than this. I should be handling this better. And they say to me, like, why am I still reacting like this? Why does all of my insight disappear the second I get stressed? Right. And the answer is usually, excuse me, not that they're weak. It's not that they're not trying. It's not even that the work they're doing is fake. It's that stress changes access. So we're going to talk about that right today, because emotional agility under stress is it's not about staying calm all the time. It's not about becoming an unbothered being. It's not about having no reactions. And it's definitely not about becoming some super polished person who never gets thrown off by anything, right? No, right? Oh, emotional agility under stress, my friend, means that I get to stay available to choice even while stress is in the room with me. And that's it, right? Like I may still feel it. I may still be activated by it. I may still be disappointed, overloaded, irritated, rushed, mentally noisy, right? I might be thrown off and I certainly might just be tired, right? But I do not disappear into it so completely that that stress gets to think for me, right? To speak for me, to run that whole damn show, right? That's different. And this matters because a lot of people think stress just makes them emotional. Mm-hmm. Right? But it doesn't only do that, right? Stress makes people automatic. And that's a huge distinction. So when stress gets loud, right, our systems speed up. The body speeds up, the thoughts speed up, the interpretations get faster, the old meaning gets louder, perspectives get narrower, and relief starts looking more like, well, it just starts looking more seductive, whatever your relief is. And we're not going to dive into that today. But whatever has been practiced the most usually gets the first shot at running that moment. And that's why some of you can understand yourselves really well when you're calm. And then one hard day, one disappointing conversation, one overloaded stretch, or one weird moment in your body, one stack of too many things at once. And suddenly, right, like your mind is sounding like a version of you that you thought you had already outgrown. So that doesn't mean nothing has changed for you. It means stress made that old pattern easier to access. And that's important because if you don't understand that, you turn every hard day into some identity crisis. You say, I'm back at square one. I guess I'm not growing. I guess this work really isn't sticking. I should be further along by now, right? Mm-mm. No. A lot of the time, what's happened is much simpler than that, right? Stress narrowed your access and the old loop got there first, right? So it gets in there first. And that's why, I care so much about this idea of protecting the baseline. Because if your baseline is weak, every stressor is going to feel bigger. Every disappointment lands harder. Every interruption, right, gets more authority. And every old mental route gets easier to obey. And once that happens, people stop choosing. They start reacting through whatever is loudest. So let's make this really clear, okay? Under stress, most people lose access in a few predictable ways, okay? First, we've already said this, right? Like they get faster. Their thoughts move faster, their mouths move faster, the tone changes faster, their need to solve, explain, react, check, control, or do something now gets louder. And because it all feels so urgent, right, they assume it must be wise. And it usually isn't. Okay. Second, they get narrower. Okay. So now there are only two options. Now the whole day is ruined. Now this means everything. Right. Now one hard moment becomes the whole identity. Now one disappointment becomes proof of failure. Now there is no nuance. There's no room. There's no perspective. Just the stressed version of the story acting like it's the only story available. Third, right? They start reaching for relief. And this is big because a lot of people think they are coping well under stress when what they are actually doing is grabbing whatever gives them the fastest drop in discomfort. Okay. So the explanation, the snack, the scroll, the shutdown, the sharper tone, the reassurance hunt, pick up the phone, call all the friends, right? The immediate text, the overfunctioning, right? The urge to control the room, the need to get certainty right away, right? And sometimes it's the need to disappear. And so, of course, we have, again, we talked about the snacking. So, there's the emotional eating, but there's also, right, like, I don't know, the alcohol will make it better, right? Like, so I really need to be looking at that because relief feels like movement. And then you think you're handling it, right? Again, coping. And a lot of time, what's happening is we're feeding the pattern faster. Okay. So, I could probably spend an entire day just on number 3 here. Okay. So we'll move into number 4, right? The fourth thing is they turn their stress into identity. So one rough reaction becomes I'm failing. I'm not good at this. I'm back here again. Why am I still like this? I guess I'm just not this kind of person. And now the original stress is not even the only issue. Now they're stressed and attacking themselves, which usually makes everything worse. And that's why emotional agility matters. Because emotional agility under stress is not about having no reaction. It's about staying available enough, right, to not let that first reaction become the final leader. That means I can notice that stress is here without automatically believing everything it has to say. It's huge because stress talks big, right? Stress says, hey man, you're behind. You need to fix this now. Something's wrong. This is going bad. You can't handle this. You don't have time to slow down. If you don't act now, it's just going to get worse. And if nobody questions that voice, right, it starts sounding like truth. So what does emotional agility under stress actually look like, right? It looks like I notice the speed up. I notice the narrowing. I notice the story getting louder. I notice the urge for immediate relief. And instead of treating all of that like a set of instructions, I stay with myself long enough to ask, hey, what's actually happening here? What is stress making this mean? What am I about to do if I obey this without question? What would keep me available instead? Right? So this is the work. It's not perfection. It's not performance. It's maintaining access. Because if I can stay available, I can still choose, right? I can choose a slower tone. I can choose a cleaner thought. I could choose a more accurate interpretation. I could choose a pause before I respond. Right? Get some space. I can choose a walk instead of a spiral. I can choose a glass of water instead of another hit of stimulation. I can choose food instead of powering through while running on fumes. I can choose space instead of trying to prove. I can choose to delay instead of reaction, right? That's what's protecting your baseline really means. It means I stop living like every stressful moment gets to become some full system takeover. And I want to say this really clearly, okay? Stress is real. But stress is not always leadership. Just because life got loud doesn't mean what you're hearing is wise. And that matters because a lot of people are letting stress become the narrator, right? They're letting their stress narrate the whole moment just because it has a stronger voice when the system is taxed. Oh no, you actually can feel stress without handing stress the microphone. I call it sitting in and moving through, right? That's emotional agility. I see the stress or stressor, right? Like here comes the anxiety. Oh, let me look at it, right? Sit in and move through. That's what I want people to practice, right? Not becoming flatter, not becoming fake, not pretending that they're fine, staying available, right? Like, oh, right? Because the real question is not, can I eliminate stress? The real question is, when stress hits, do I still have access to myself? Okay, so if this is resonating for you, right? Again, this is that public teaching layer. If you need to go deeper, we do that inside the Insight and Impact Focus group. We take this, again, much deeper because the deeper work is where we stop admiring the patterns and actually build the structure that lets you stay available to choice when your life gets loud. That's what we do there. And that's exactly what this June, that's what this whole month is about, right? Mindset by design. Because emotional agility is not the absence of stress, okay? It's the access to choice inside of stress. And that will change everything. Don't miss next week. And feel free to go back and review.